Hey, there we are. Good morning. Good to see you all. It's good to be seen. It's another day in the USA. We're going to be fighting the good fight. A lot of stuff going on. We're going to talk about some of the things which I think are most challenging to those who don't want to see change. Hope and change. Well, it's not hope and change. It's time for change. And what's changing is the people who are going to go into government. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So talking about change, but not too much change. I don't think he's wearing black today. Without further ado, here's Chris Cordani. Chris?
Hey, wearing a little red today. I like it. Dark red. Blood
Good morning.
red. Will? Yes, crimson. That's
Blood
the word.
red.
I think crimson's the perfect
Crimson.
word. Yeah.
Crimson and clover, over and over.
I am the Crimson Avenger. There we go.
Crimson and over. Who does that song? Crimson and clover, over and over. There's a song.
Tommy James and the Shondells. Interesting story.
There you go.
I have an interesting story about Tommy James and the Shondells.
Go.
The Hanky Panky, the song Hanky Panky was done when Tommy James was 13. So they just kind of put the band together, did it in the garage, and submitted the record. It went nowhere. There was a DJ in Pittsburgh, I believe it was. I think it was Pittsburgh, that found the record somehow 4 years later, played it. It became a smash in the city. The kid gets a call at 17-ish and says, "Hey, your song's number one here in in Pittsburgh." And the band sort of gets back together. He becomes a big star. How about that?
Wow. Well, Crimson and Clover is a pretty good song, so I'm glad you're giving tribute today wearing crimson. So there you go.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of things which aren't crimson have to do with the color of deception, right? In the news today, right?
Green, I suppose. The envious green color from the left.
Yeah. So there's some things we have to talk about today. I will just jump right into it. There's an effort to go after my friend Pete Hegseth. It's a massive effort. I mean, it's huge. It's the only thing that delayed it was Joe Biden's pardon of Hunter. That kind of took up a lot of the oxygen in the discussion space yesterday and Monday. So, but today, man, I wake up and now ABC, CBS, who fired my friend Catherine Herridge, just saying if there's there's kind of a pattern there,
right?
And Dean came this morning on X. Dean basically was a on-air partner of Pete for like 5 years on Fox and Friends. And Dean saying, "I've never heard this. I was around the guy for 5 years, and this is all nonsense." And notable to the story, there's 10 so-called witnesses who've talked to NBC and the New Yorker. There's a clue for you, NBC and New Yorker, and they're all anonymous. So, Chris, what do you think of anonymous sources?
I don't think very much of them. In fact, this essay we're showing here by a gentleman named Sohrab Ahmari was saying the same thing. It's right here in the second paragraph. He was discussing the accusations against Hesketh, and they were done by cowards. I'll read it. In interviews with me, 2 former senior leaders of the CVA have denied the whistleblower allegations against Hesketh. They insisted that he left the organization voluntarily without any pressure bearing down on him from his finders. And unlike the New Yorker's sources, one of Hesketh's CVA defenders spoke on the record. And by the way, the New Yorker has become a severe TDS magazine. It was terrible since Trump became the Republican nominee and it became a more serious contender to Hillary Clinton. It was always all anti-Trump all the time, no matter what it was. Oh my gosh, Trump ate a sandwich the wrong way. I'm exaggerating, but you know where I'm going here. So Hesketh is another one that's being smeared by this magazine.
So I have full disclosure. I've been texting with Dean Cain, Superman. Dean, if you're listening, God bless you. Dean is. You can go check out the string on X. A bunch of folks on the record, to include yours truly, have said on that string, it's like, yeah, we know, Pete, this is nonsense. And oh, by the way, Chris, are you surprised? Nobody who actually worked with Pete was contacted by the New Yorker or NBC. What a shocker, right?
Again, I'm going to go back to what I said before on this program. The former there was a tabloid called the Weekly World News. The former editor of that, who was editor at the time, always said about these sensational stories, never ask yourself out of a good story.
Yeah.
These people aren't going to talk to anyone who has the real scoop.
No.
want the other side. They want the sensational story. They want the eyeballs, and they want to smear their perceived enemy.
Yeah. And so the other thing I've always said in the air, and I said it on other shows too, is like, who hasn't gotten drunk and wanted to dance with strippers on stage, right?
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I'm sure Rachel Levine did the same thing once in a while.
I was on with our friend Chris on Philadelphia. Chris, you know what I'm talking about. Chris, oh my God, I'm having a senior moment. I'm thinking Joe Biden. Chris Stiegel this morning on Philadelphia. And we were talking about this, like, who in their 20s, if you're a real beta, not a beta male, if you're an alpha male, who in their 20s didn't do stupid stuff? I mean, come on. So
it's going to be funny in the future. All these kids document the stupid crap they do. Imagine 40 years from now when they start running for these major offices. There are going to be lots of leaked videos from TikTok back in the day where they're doing all these stupid things.
Oh my God! Yeah. I've had conversations with my college friends about this, and some of them are watching right now. They know those who are watching the show right now know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
We used to have 2 days a year that basically it was like a Bacchanal Festival. It was May days and October days. And so Chris at Rice State University in May, like the first week of May, we would have a day that everybody, to include professors, skipped and got drunk. I swear to God. And then the same thing in October. You start back in September, it's like, oh my God, we need to take a day off. It's too much. So again, in October, we don't get drunk. Hell, I was taking my Thunderbird Turbo Coupe and doing donuts in front of the gym at school. Yes, that was me. Those are my tire tracks from 1980, 86. Yes, it was 86. Sorry about that. I apologize. Anyway, yeah. I'm just saying that if they went back and looked at all the naked stuff we did, skinny dipping, streaking, we were wild. And I had to go look for friends in barns after parties.
Well, yeah, I've
been talking bad about the dead. Dave Cutshaw. Dave and I are dear friends. Like, yes, I had to go look for Dave. Those who know the story know what I'm talking about. So anyway, come on. We were all stupid and young. We were all stupid and young at one point. I don't care. So speaking for the folks who are witnessing all this, NBC, CBS, New Yorker, we don't care. Nobody cares. Go F yourselves as far as I'm concerned. So
I wouldn't even think half their colleagues didn't do the things that they're accusing Hesketh of doing.
No, of course not. Of course not, Chris. Yeah.
Right.
So,
it might be in again, you talk about the blue wall for the police forces in some major cities. This is a big, let's say, commie red wall, if you will, within the journalist industry, because these people have their own situations and everything else. They're supposed to report from the moral high ground, which, by the way, after the last few weeks, the Democrats have none. That's it. The small inkling they did have, or they thought they had, all gone. And they just dropped the pretense of not being biased. They dropped the pretense of even pretending to be on a moral high ground, and they're just openly smearing Pete Hegseth because they don't like him. They're afraid of him.
Yeah.
They're openly
they're very afraid.
Right. And they went after Matt Gaetz, but I think Trump knew that, so they could switch for Pam Bondi. She scares them even more. So anybody that intimidates liberals, they're going to go after severely because they just don't want to deal with it. They're afraid. Right. The rest are scattering. Yeah.
So last go around, I don't know if you knew this, and I don't know. I mean, it's not private. Pete was being considered for Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Pete Hegseth. So there was some controversy at the time. You weren't with us at the time, I don't think. Were you, Chris?
No. I think there was a discussion. We were working with the London Center at the time. So I suppose there was a discussion there. Yeah,
there was. I don't think you were part of it, but yeah. No. So there was some behind the scenes drama because there was some drama. I don't want to get into it because I'll start getting in trouble, which I normally am. I don't need this trouble today. Thank you. But I'm just saying, Pete's name was put forth and Donald Trump was considering him for that post. It didn't happen. I think Robert Wilkie got it. Secretary Wilkie, I love Wilkie. He's a great guy. No criticism. Not saying anything bad. I'm just saying Pete was being considered back then, and none of this came up. He was not selected based on other reasons, not on any of this. So my question to you and the crowd is like, okay, this would have all come up before, right? If you're being
well, there goes the lag again. We always hate the lag, but or is it the government shutting down Tony? They're mad at Tony right now. That's a lot of. But the fact is, yes, the media smear campaign against Pete Hegseth has gone way out of proportion at this point. I've seen them jump on people right and left. I've seen them go after people they've despised over the years. I remember back when they went after George W. Bush for bringing in old walrus face John Bolton to be his what am I thinking of, the UN ambassador. Hey, you know what? If it's a Republican and they're afraid of him, they'll just go after them. Democrats will legislate against, well, they'll try to legislate against what intimidates them, and they'll smear what intimidates them. That is their MO. That has been for a very, very long time. And of course, Tony will be back in just a few moments. No worries, unless, of course, somebody got to his Wi-Fi or his camera. Having said that, we do have a guest here. And with us right now is Dr. Jerome Corsi. And we're talking about Pete Hegseth right now. And you have some big news coming out of California. You have big news coming out of other states soon. We'll get to that in just a few moments. But I want to get your thoughts, and I'm sure Tony does, about this major smear campaign against Pete Hegseth.
Well, I think it's being led by people like Lindsey Graham.
Right.
And, Lindsey Graham is, as far as I'm concerned, worthless for years. And excuse me, I managed to get a cold here.
Yeah, we made him come in sick, so that's our fault.
Sorry about that.
See, it's making you sick, isn't it?
Yeah, the whole thing makes me sick. I mean, the problem here is that Lindsey Graham's never seen a real military man that he likes. He likes going to war. I don't think he's ever fought one. I don't think he or his former boyfriend ever fought one. And I don't know if he's got a new boyfriend. But the point is, Lindsey Graham is he's worthless. He's always on the wrong side of things. I guess he doesn't like Hegseth's, tattoos, or he's too military, or, he's got real experience in the military rather than, Lindsey Graham up there on the Hill, who's closer these days to the rhinos on the Capitol Hill. He's supporting every. I don't want to know how much money Lindsey Graham's really made in the Senate. How he got it.
Yeah,
that's what I want to know.
It's amazing how these people make all sorts of money under public service. I always say never trust a politician who has gained exponential wealth while in office.
Yeah, the Fox and Friends host, co-host Will Kane, he fumed on X's story, that all this NBC nonsense is 100% complete BS, and it is. This guy, I've met Hegseth, and I consider him to be honest and a warrior and a guy who will do the job. And I think that basically you've got the hit piece, saying he habitually came to Fox and Friends hungover and smelling of alcohol. I've seen no trace of that in the times I've been with Hegseth. And, Hegseth, I think, is an honest guy. There's always all these girlfriends and all the rest of it, and all this nonsense that they throw at people on the left is what they themselves do.
Projection. Absolutely. The left's MO of projection.
Yeah. And so therefore they think they can hide under it because they accuse their enemies of it, and that we don't get it. Okay. So, the NBC News never reached out to these people at Fox and Friends to get their stories. They never gave, the defense of Hegseth, which even their daughter posted, along with a picture of the family. I met the family. I met his wife. I met the kids. I mean, this is nonsense. And it's just a smear campaign because they don't like him. They are afraid of him. He's a real military guy, and they can't stand it.
Yeah, Jerry, good morning. Sorry I was delayed because of my damn computer, but to the point you're making, I know Pete. I full disclosure, Pete and I are friends, so I'll just leave it at that. And I know for a fact that the blatant, over the top, flat out deception is what I'm concerned about. And I ask anybody who's skeptical, look at who is talking about this. New Yorker, CBS, ABC, NBC,
CIA.
These are the people. These are the people who literally lied to you for the past at least 30 years, probably longer, and they were part of everything from Russia collusion, the COVID cover-up. Joe Biden is just fine. He's sharp as attack. Jesse Smollett. That's who these people are. So, do you really think we should believe them at this point when there's everybody is anonymous? Now, look, I'm a whistleblower. Jerry knows this. From our conversations regarding 9/11, I went on the record. I knew that what I was going to say was going to be very unpopular because it goes against the very same people Pete's going against now. The permanent bureaucracy, basically saying we need to hold people accountable for both incompetence and what may be worse than incompetence. And they came after me. So I've been down this road before, and it's all about trying to discredit the individual rather than focus on the truth. Right, Jerry?
Yeah, and in fact, the NBC attack and all these other attacks in New Yorker, these only solidify in my mind that Haig says this is the right guy.
Yeah, me too.
Well, the other problem, again, you judge a man by his enemies sometimes, and this is what's going on. The man pisses off the right people. Here's another thing. Back in the day, and I actually had a minor in journalism, so I had to take journalism courses in the 80s, and it's amazing what you learn. Back in the day, before in the 70s, 60s, and before that, when there was an anonymous source or two, journalists, if they were going to legitimize the story, had to get maybe 2 or 3, I believe it was 3 confirmations on the story, and all on the record. Right. And they don't do that now. It's they get an anonymous source, and all they have to do is put up a post saying anonymous sources say, even if it's just one.
Even if they make it up.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you know they my anonymous source is, the little mouse I keep in my drawer.
Mine is Trevor, my friend.
No, Onyx, I went after the author of Meyer, I think is her name, of New Yorker, the New Yorker article. And I said, did you make this up at a Starbucks, or did someone hand you something you were told to transcribe because it's fake? I don't believe for a minute that
it's CIA Mockingbird. I mean, these people are fed these lines.
Yeah,
and these people aren't capable of journalism. No. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to get sources. They don't know how to report the truth. They're not taught. Their job is a partisan political job, and they're parroting the current talking points of the CIA, which are deep state orchestrated.
Yeah.
They're designed to keep us in perpetual war, designed to bankrupt the middle class. They're designed to make our children woke. They're depopulationists, and they're evil. And I wouldn't, I quit reading the New York Times in the Vietnam War because all they were doing is publishing, the Department of Defense news releases. I could have just got the same thing by reading what the Department of Defense was putting out.
Yeah,
they were rarely doing real reporting.
Well, that's what I want to talk about a little bit today. By the way, before I get off, I'm wearing a Sea of Mud shirt. Their fight shirt sent to me by the folks at Sea of Mud. Great shirt. And of course, we're talking about fighting today. That's the topic, fight. So
I've got limited time today, but I want to interject here with God's 5 stones, and that's God, no apostrophe S. You spell out 5, FIVE, stones, STONES.com. This is our site at exposing the algorithms that are in the state databases. We've begun to work now already with the Trump lawyers, the lawyers who, people are going to be taking over the Justice Department. I think they could ship the whole Justice Department out to Death Valley. We wouldn't miss it. Let them have all the, let them take all their file cabinets with them. They're also, by the way, so we're going to go after the algorithms now is they can steal elections. They just stole another election in California, it looks like, because it fits the pattern of they keep counting until they get enough mail-in ballots that the Democrat wins. 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years post the election. And these are the algorithms permit these to happen. There's algorithms in California that we've detected. I'll publish the article today on the website or tomorrow. And we're starting to work with the attorneys. And these are going to be filings in court that have hard mathematical proof that falsified votes can be created. They can give them state legitimate IDs. They can vote them, and they can erase them out of the database. It's a scheme that is capable of stealing an election. Now, I want to know that it did or not. I can't prove today that it did or not. But by the time we get finished with this and we get a Justice Department criminal investigation going on with the potential charges not only of election fraud, a scheme, voter fraud is individual, this is a scheme, but also the potential of treason charges, we're going to get to the bottom of this. And I'm determined that God's Five Stones is raising additional money. We're going to go to another round, and we're going to keep it going, because now our goal is to bring to justice these cheaters. And I think these are intelligence agency level schemes. I think the CIA is involved. So we're going to an operational level now, where what we have with Andrew Paquette's and you can see it all on the website. The various state reports there. We've got reports for the battleground states in Georgia. We've got Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Wisconsin. Wisconsin has 7 million voter records, and there's 2 million clones in the records. 1/3 of the database is illegal. How can you run an election with a database like that? It's all mathematical.
Yep.
So the courts are not going to be able to dismiss these because we can prove these algorithms are there. And now we're going to go after researching to find out how they were used, if they were used. We want criminal evidence, we want criminal indictments. We're going to put an end to this. We'll stay in business until that happens. So that's a major announcement. And also we're notifying the Trump transition that the agencies have now gotten a coordinated scheme, and they are systematically destroying documents.
I'm sure.
The CIA, all the intelligence agencies, the Department of Justice, and they've said, okay, this guy will be our scapegoat. He'll take the fall for it. But again, the documents are going to be gone if we don't. I'm saying that the Trump transition needs to go into a federal district court today and get an injunction to stop this, and to enforce the injunction with a assignment of the federal marshals into the agencies to protect the records, physically to protect the records.
Yeah.
Okay. And therefore we have protection of these records from these criminals. They will commit further crimes to destroy evidence, that's a crime, in order to not be brought to justice. And they know that there could be capital charges here.
Yeah.
Treason. And I think we've got to clean this out. And even if we destroy these departments, they're not worth saving.
Well, so let's go down that path a little bit. First, Jerry, there's supposed to be landing teams from the administration, from the inbound administration coming in. So are they the landing teams?
Not fast enough.
Well, that's my concern.
And secondly, these guys know how to make records go away very easily.
Yes, I've had this conversation with folks.
You can do, and so now we're getting this word in a highly official manner saying you can't wait. You got to go into federal district court today and stop this.
Yeah.
Then you got to get the federal marshals in there. You got to take control of the records. You got to seize the computers. You got to find out who's been erasing records. And you got to bring criminal charges against them and get them out of there.
Well, that's the problem, though, Jerry, because as I see it, the U.S. Marshals are about the only fair, above-board law enforcement at the federal level. And who's going to force them to do it, since Merrick Garland is corrupt as the day is long?
Well, you get a U.S. District Court to do an injunction and demand, and their enforcement mechanism is to send in the U.S. Marshals.
Hey, apparently all you need is an anonymous source, so you should be all set.
Yeah, just call up NBC News. They'll give you the mouse in the drawer who said that this was going on.
Yeah.
Look,
Well,
it's patently clear that it's going on. We've
yeah.
seen shredding trucks parked in front of the Department of Justice.
Oh, of course.
Right.
No, I've seen that.
You
But
know, and
this is part of my issue, though, with the coming. And I've already had this conversation with at least one of the inbound cabinet. I don't want to say who, but I said, Jerry, the current team across the board, there's some things they're going to destroy, but most of what they want to hide. They're too lazy to recreate things. So what they're going to try to do is put things in places that people don't know, especially in DoD. They're going to try to essentially not have to recreate their own work. So they're going to hide it in bureaucracies, hide it in places you wouldn't normally think. And I think that's part of what we need to do is make sure that the landing teams and the teams coming in know that they've hidden stuff all over the place. There's going to be landmines. There's going to be things that they want you to find that'll be essentially explosive, bureaucratic explosive devices meant to slow you down. But otherwise, Jerry, they're going to try to hide these things in universities and nonprofits and things like that so they can bring it back sometime down the road. Don't you think?
to some extent, I think some of them they'll just deep six because they're too damaging. I think some of them are just completely incriminating. I mean, if you look at the Podesta emails that, Assange produced, or any of the documents that Assange produced, he had stuff in there that, they did not want known. Hillary Clinton funding the Steele dossier through giving the money from her campaign to Perkins Coie to hide it.
No doubt.
Money laundering. The counterintelligence operation that they ran out of the Department of Justice and the information they used lying to get FISA court approval to do wiretaps. These Podesta emails had a lot of stuff in them saying Hillary Clinton did have a neurological problem and she was a lousy campaigner and nobody liked her. She was lazy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in here that Hillary Clinton and Mark Elias and I believe and certainly Perkins Coie, when the attorneys for the campaign and for Hillary, they went out with a scheme to raise money, saying they were going to give money to the state Democratic parties, which meant they could collect more money than the campaign finance laws would allow if it was just collected for Hillary's campaign.
Right.
And they gave it to the states and they took it back from the states.
Yeah.
So it was just a complete transparent scheme that violated and this was all the Podesta emails. So, if you get these things need to be brought public. So and that's why they wanted to put Assange in prison for so long.
Right. Well, there's a question in the chat about, is there anybody that can help you like Robert Barnes or Gouveia and what you're doing to try to stop this stuff right now, Jerry?
Well, I think we'll get it right to the top, and I think we're going to get it in there. I was on Wayne Allen Root's show last night, and I brought this forward, and he got very alarmed about it. So I'm sure that some alarm bells are being sounded today in Washington, and they need to be because this can't go on another hour.
Right.
If they have to shut down the departments and send everybody home to secure the computers, that's okay with me. They're not doing anything worthwhile anyway.
Well, that's true. Well, they never really do. But second thing, Chris had the article up regarding the outcome of the two races in California that went on until the Democrats won. What do you make of that?
Again, it's a classic pattern. This again is highly suspicious, and I want to get in there and I want to see I want to get court orders that we can do forensic inspection of the computers and the ballots.
Yeah.
Because I believe what my suspicion is, I can't prove it today, is that those ballots were generated from within the machine to non-existing voters who had certifiable numbers because of the algorithms that created these false voters and hid them. It's like a card marking scheme. And then if we had to do a forensic examination of the mail-in ballots, we'd find that they weren't postmarked, they weren't folded, they weren't signed with the registration signatures, that one person signed 1,000 or 10,000 of them, and that if you went out into the community and see if these people exist, most of them wouldn't exist or a large enough number to discredit the whole process. We need a forensic examination of the mail-in ballots and a forensic examination of the computers, which we're capable of doing.
Oh, here's another thing. A lot of this is won by something called curing ballots. And after the election, it was a couple of weeks, I guess, afterwards, or maybe a week or so, you had Nancy Pelosi's daughter singing while driving about curing ballots all over California. That's what she was doing. This is where she gets the idea. This is probably something that helped flip these seats over. But the idea is they're actually trying to find ballots that were filled out wrong and following people around to make sure they redo them. I suppose that curing these ballots only goes to one side generally.
Well, and also, this is a cover-up operation.
Right. The Republicans don't have that ground
It's a
game.
cover-up operation. You don't get to do a redo.
Right.
You don't get to take your defective ballots and go out and try to make them good.
Well, that's what they're doing. That's what they allow you to do.
Well, that's again, that's another criminal scheme.
Exactly.
It needs to be examined as a critical. All these things need to be proven.
And it could be a way to hide the algorithm, or some kind of algorithm that maybe enhances those numbers a little more. Right.
There are ways to go into these computers. You know, I was going to write a book going back decades ago on assembly language and debugging assembly language. I've been around computers a long time. There's different ways you can go into computers and do forensic analysis as to what that computer is doing at the machine level.
Of course.
Okay, so they can't hide unless they destroy the compiler in the system in the computer. They cannot erase this stuff. Okay, now it may take some time, it may take some forensic work, but you can't send another group of operatives out to try to make good of a ballot you know is defective, and that doesn't cure anything. It just commits another crime.
Right.
And it's got to stop. And so therefore, God's Five Stones is going to stay open, and we're going to work to produce the evidence that is not saying an election was stolen. It's saying that these inherently, it's criminal to have these schemes in the state database. And so therefore, we want to know why they're there, how they've been used. Some of them have been in these computer systems in 2004 and 2007. Have there been people who are part of the U.S. Congress who have been elected by algorithms, not by the people? I want to know these questions. I want to get these answers.
That's important. So algorithms, I think we all recognize
I like
where
that
came
algorithms.
I like that.
Algorithms. That's right. So we know how corrupt those are. Just saying.
They got to be boring too, apparently.
Well, gentlemen, I've got to sign off today. My time is really squeezed today.
Well, thanks for being here, Jerry. We'll have you back soon because we want to continue this discussion, especially about California. So
yeah, and California is very important. Wisconsin's important. Florida's important.
Yes.
Yeah,
Georgia's important. There's still a lot here that went on. We stopped the algorithms from being used at the presidential level election because they were, but we didn't stop the down ballot elections from being stolen, or the suspicion is they're being stolen. We got to find out if they were.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Jerry. We'll do that.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you back soon.
God bless.
God bless. And so we're joined by Christopher. Good morning, Christopher.
Hey, Chris.
Morning, gentlemen. How you guys doing?
Good. And by the way, I'm enjoying your Facebook pictures and your little one, you and the little one. So those are very cute.
Very cool.
Just making my life more complicated in a beautiful way. You know,
that's good. Oh, wait till they get to their teens, then it gets really fun. Just saying.
Oh man, I know. All the fathers of girls are coming up to me, telling me what I'm in for. So I'm looking forward to it though.
Yeah, I have a daughter that she's apparently expecting. I just found out. It's like she's an adult, just saying, but it's like, okay, this is going to be interesting. I guess I'm on the path to being a grandfather, so it's going to be scary. So you know what I'm saying.
I'm already getting protective of her, and she's not even, a week old,
So, well, speaking of protective, man, oh man, what do you make of current feeding frenzy regarding Pete Hegseth? I mean, Christopher, to me, this has all the earmarks of Russia collusion. No, I didn't mean it. I mean all the earmarks.
Well,
they tried that already. This has all the earmarks of MSM lying. What do you think? So,
I mean, you can't believe everything you hear, and I having just made a film about President Trump, I trust all his judgment. If he thinks Pete Hegseth is the right guy for this job, then I trust him completely, because there's one thing that I understand about President Trump is that he can recognize talent and the right person for the job. That's how he built his empire, and he's known for bringing out the best of people. So if Pete Hegseth is not perfect for the job but has the potential to be, there's one man that will bring that out of him. And that's President Trump.
Well, that's kind of my experience too, because I know President Trump. I've spoken with him. I was the national security advisor to the 2020 campaign, and my issue was never with him. It was never with Trump. It was those gatekeepers and those who were the guardrails around Trump. And I was once told by John Kelly, his chief of staff, that he would never permit me to talk to President Trump, face to face, because I would, quote unquote, inflame his instincts. So, Chris, I think Trump's got pretty good instincts. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he has incredible instincts, and that's his gift is sort of to how to. It's kind of similar to what I do when I make a movie is how to utilize people to get the best out of them. That's essentially what a director does. Is he just he puts this soup together and he makes the most beautiful stew out of all the ingredients, and that's his cabinet. I think I haven't questioned too many of the choices. There was one related to, I can't remember her name, related to health, that something to do with the pandemic that I wasn't so sure about. But all of his choices have been really solid, and I know he's choosing the right people. I'm not so sure about DeSantis for that. For that job. I was thinking about this this morning. I'm interested to know what you guys think about that.
I heard about this morning. I'm not sure.
Go ahead, Chris.
First off, from a purely, let's just say, looking at the future level, it's probably not a great idea to deplete Florida of its leadership at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something. Remember, foresight has to come into this, and I hate to say it, political foresight is important, even though it might hold somebody down. This is still a guy who wants to run for president in the future, so it's possible that it's possible it's a good idea. Now, having said that, DeSantis is also not allowed to run for governor again, so the term limits might actually make this a pretty decent choice. So having DeSantis as defense secretary may make some political sense, but it also could hurt him a little bit too. I don't know.
Well, here's my take on it, because I think, Christopher, the thing you said is very important regarding why Trump picks the people he does. Like you being a director, you want to have a certain effect, essentially. You can't control actors, but you can pick actors because you believe they're going to perform a certain way, right? I mean, that's what you do, right, as a director.
Right.
You know someone's range. I mean, you would never get Robert De Niro to play, say, I don't know, Marilyn Monroe, right? You wouldn't do that. Although I think Robert would probably look good in high heels because he's short, right? Right, Chris? I mean, he's a short guy. Just saying.
Yeah. But also turning around. Maybe this is a good idea. Maybe
right.
I just thought
a remake of Ronin and the Birdcage. Wouldn't that be great?
I actually just
Ronin and the Birdcage together, right?
But I just thought of this. Maybe this is being used as a threat. So all those media types and lefties who are trying to disparage his Hegseth nomination, check it out. Maybe saying, all right, well, if you do that, then I'm going to bring in DeSantis. That might shut people up or keep people.
No.
I'm half joking. I'm joking here, but yeah.
No. I'm sorry. I just think I don't think it's right. But by the way, I think redoing The Deer Hunter with Robert De Niro and drag. You ought to do that, Christopher. I'll help. I'll find you money for that.
That's probably not the best director for that one, but
we can hope. Anyway, but back to the topic. No, Chris, it's the opposite. So DeSantis, the reason they want DeSantis is because DeSantis has a future. I'm not saying Pete doesn't have a future. I'm saying Pete doesn't care about the future. Pete would be loyal to one man, Donald J. Trump. He's not a corporate guy. He has no ties to Lockheed, Raytheon, Boeing. He doesn't have any of that. And oh, by the way, the people coming in ain't going to have, just saying, from some of the people I know they've been floating, ain't going to have those ties either. So They're going to come in and they're not going to be friends of. And remember that we talked about it the other day, Christopher. We talked about the bulwark the other day because they were freaking out that these picks are going to have no loyalty to the institution. No, they shouldn't.
The point, yeah.
That's the point.
That's the point of it.
Skeptical of DeSantis because DeSantis
that's the point of it. That's another thing I learned about making this movie is, loyalty is, a big part of who Trump is, and, even the people that we interviewed in my documentary were sort of his most loyal friends and, and certainly his family. So, with given everything that's happened to him, you can understand why loyalty is important, So if anyone is at the least bit questionable, I'm sure that he's not gonna recommend them. But
well, be sure put up Christopher's movie. Do you have that available so we can show it to folks again so they can look at it?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. What's the title of that again?
The Man You Don't Know.
Right.
The Man You Don't Know, opposed to the man we should know, which is Robert De Niro playing.
We know him pretty well, I think.
Yeah, we do.
So we're up to about 65 million views since Elon Musk shared the film. I believe you can still watch the film on X if you search for The Man You Don't Know on X. You'll and so. The great thing is that we've been approached by some big streaming companies. So so the remarkable thing is, and Tony, this, I know this happened to your book. The same thing happened to our theaters. Is like I believe, people. There was some force at play to buy out our theaters so nobody, would see the film and. So my producer, Joshua Machello, he's a genius, Global Ascension Studios. This guy is getting ready to take over Hollywood and sort of take Hollywood back in the media. And he put the whole film on X for free, which I thought was a genius move. So, and that got us the view count, that got us the attention from the streamers. So, just it's a good example of not taking no for an answer.
Oh, good. Well, I think it's long overdue that we have people actually doing clear and concise reporting of the truth instead of making things up out of whole cloth. And I think that's the thing I want to mention here. Christopher, you did good work relating to a topic which a lot of people, I think they know Trump, but they don't. And I think, if you read his book and you see you'll get a good sense of the man. Loyalty is important. So this is why I think he's going to stick with Pete, because I think at this point, it's obvious that they really don't want Pete. I mean, this is full blown everybody against Pete. And you got NBC, CBS, and CBS, as my friend Catherine Herridge got fired from over there. Just saying, there's a connection in that she was reported going after Hunter Biden. Oh my goodness, Hunter Biden's been in the news last couple of days, right? And we were told that the laptop was Russian disinformation. I brought that up earlier. Ooh, it's Russia. Turns out it's true, and Biden pardons Hunter for the past 10 years. So what do you make of this? Nobody, Christopher, has ever done a pardon of this scope for this length of time. What do you make of that?
Well, it's a good transition from my film about Trump, where you have a guy who's been demonized, and the purpose of my film. And my film, it may seem like propaganda, but it's dialectic. It's dialectical because it's the opposition. We show the other side in terms of the opposition that he faced, and so you get the point of view that way. But here you have a guy who's been called a liar, who in my film we prove that he's been anything but most of his life, and then you have Joe Biden, pardoning his son, where clearly, it boggles my mind if people don't see the takeaway of that. The takeaway of that is this proves that he is a liar. We have proof saying that he wasn't going to pardon his son. people in his
Over
cabinet
and over.
saying that.
Oh, we all
And
knew it
you
was
know,
going
it's
on.
like in movies, a character's actions determine who they are. You know that.
Yeah.
And I have an online film school I'm making, but a character proves who they are by the things that they do, their actions, and you know his actions show that he's a liar and he's corrupt. And you know if people don't see that now, I think the tide is changing. I think a lot of Democrats are going to wake up to sort of, and a lot of people in this country who have been misled by the Democrat Party are going to be wake up to the fact that they've been lied to, and in some instances cheated. So yeah, I mean it's such a telling thing, him pardoning himself and his son at the last minute. It's absolutely just disgusting, but we knew it was coming.
Oh yeah. Well, speaking of film and characters, I've said for a while now that Joe Biden has really been played well in the series Ray Donovan, where Mickey Donovan is Joe Biden. Just as far as I'm concerned, for those who've seen that series, just saying that Mickey Donovan is Joe Biden.
I always thought Leslie Nielsen would play a great Joe Biden. You know, Leslie Nielsen.
But Leslie was too good a guy. He's not evil. So you know.
So far we have Dana Carvey who did a pretty darn good job.
Dana was good.
We'll go with that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but no, I mean it. Did you guys? Did you guys see the documentary on Clarence Thomas? It's a great documentary. There's I really highly recommend you guys watch this. It's definitely made from a conservative point of view. I know the filmmaker, and Amazon took this film down. You know, back when they were like outright censoring, and
what's the name of it again?
You were gonna have
Created Equal, if I'm correct. It's Created Equal.
That's it.
Because we did
Created
on a
Equal.
past show I produced years ago. We did have the producer of that on the program.
He's great. Yeah, Michael Pack, I think is his name.
That's his name. Yes.
And the reason I'm mentioning this film is there's a scene in this film where Joe Biden is grilling him, like a younger Joe Biden. And this scene is so remarkable because you can see how evil and demonic Joe Biden is, and just the way that he had more of his faculties back then. So it was like you could more clearly see just how evil and demonic he was, just in the way that he's grilling, you know, Clarence Thomas, who in this documentary you see is just such a remarkable, empathetic person. It's like, how could you come up against such a remarkable person like this? So yeah, I highly recommend that film also.
Well, I don't understand how people aren't surprised by Joe Biden's behavior, looking back on who he is, speaking to your terms of who he is as a character, because he's been a vile man from the beginning. I mean, I have friends who have worked in Congress, members of Congress, who told me back when he was a senator that his nickname in the Senate was Quid Pro Quo Joe. So how did we not see this coming? I don't get it. I mean, I don't understand how
the media
even the left didn't see this.
No, the media hid this because remember, the media hid anything negative against Joe Biden. Yes, we in conservative circles and the conservative news media and the alternative media said, yes, he was known as Quid Pro Joe. Nobody ever said that. While they're jumping on, while they're smearing Pete Hegseth right now on something that normal people would do, right? They did not say an inch of a word about Biden's business dealings. They didn't talk about the effects of his crime bill. They didn't talk about him working with Strom Thurmond several times, by the way, which is something, you know, if a Republican did that, he'd be out on his rear end.
The flip side of it is that, you know, they're hiding the positive things that Trump did.
Right.
You know? So like, you know, when I was making this film, there were so many stories of the good things that Trump did. We couldn't even fit it into this 90-minute film that I did. And there were stories that were like, oh, is this true? And we get online and the articles were gone. So it was like Google was like sweeping and clearing them out and getting rid of like these positive things that Trump did. I live in Brooklyn, and I was walking my dog, and there's another dog walker, this woman that I talk to once in a while, and we're kind of friends. And I know she's on the on the other side of the aisle, or politically, but we talk, we're friends. It's kind of the way it should be, the way, like no one's belittling the other person. No one is.
I have liberal friends like that now I can talk to. Absolutely. No,
we're not. No one's trying to appear smarter. We're just having, sharing different points of view. And I was telling her about my film because she didn't know about Trump, and ironically, she used to write for CNN, and anyways, I was just telling her these things, and she had no clue. She had no clue that Donald Trump did this, and that he goes through the paper looking for people to help, and he saved a veteran who had cancer. He bought a family farm in Georgia. So it's just we're in a really strange place where like Pete Hegseth's getting smeared, and but I think the tides are changing. Things are going to change, and the pendulum is swinging back. Obviously, it swung back in a big way, and people are going to wake up to the truth.
Well, the media is not going to swing backward. And keep in mind, this is a media who got away with most of the stuff they're not getting away with now. Think about this. Back in was it the Bush era? The what's his name? Dan Rather almost got away with reporting that fake memo. This is something. How many times did they get away with this beforehand? It was that 2020 piece where the guy, where the producers or the storytellers, if you will, stuck the extra explosives in a vehicle to make it look like a crash was more dangerous than it was. That sort of thing. These are things, and the Will Arnett. Remember Will Arnett not really being embedded in, or not really being in Iraq, and reported as such by CNN. These things may be few and far between when caught back in the day. How many? If you're looking at what they're doing today, how many things did they get past us over the last 30, 40 years?
Well, that's my point about ignoring. I don't want to say ignore the stuff with Pete. I mean, look, I was on this morning, Christopher, Dean Cain. Dean's a friend. Dean's leading the response online. They were on air together for 5 years. Now, Christopher, if I sat next to you on air for 5 years, do you think you and I would have a pretty good sense of each other? Just ask.
Right.
I mean,
yes, absolutely.
So when these people go out and purposely avoid talking to people who worked with him directly, who know him directly, who were at the concerned veterans of America, the guys are saying, no, he left because he wanted to, which is my recollection too, because I knew him back then. And so to me, this is an alternate history that we're being asked to buy into by the same people who have brought us other alternate histories, which turned out to be a total lie, like the lie of Joe Biden, right? I mean, it's consistent. They are, by their actions, evil characters, right? I think so.
Well, I think with Pete Hegseth, he's a patriot. He's a true believer, and that's what they don't like about him. And I think that's the very reason Trump picked him. I think it's not only his loyalty to Trump; it's his loyalty to America, to our founding principles. And I think Pete's a really good example of that.
Yeah. So I think at this point, going to be interesting because so let me ask you, because you did the movie on Trump, I didn't. What's Trump going to do here? Because we're being told to believe, the Wall Street Journal, which I don't, that Trump's rethinking this. I don't know if I think Trump's rethinking this. What do you think?
The Wall Street Journal. Tell me what you're talking about.
About Hegseth. About they're all trashing Pete today. They're all going online. All the mainstream media.
I mean, I honestly, I'm not quite sure where this is going. The DeSantis thing threw me. I mean, it made me wonder, is Trump questioning Hegseth now? I don't really know. I don't have an answer to that. I hope that he sticks with Hegseth, because it seems like the better choice. He's just to me seems like more of a patriot,
Yeah. Well, I think so too. And I'd like to believe that this is going to be something that Trump supports and sticks with because it's important. So speaking of important and sticking, I got to do a read, right, Chris?
I think so. It's about that time.
I'll do it very quickly. Yeah. So, real quick, I have another question for you, Christopher. Don't go away. Let me get this in real
Sure,
quick.
sure.
So, for us, you need to go check this out. Paul Stone and the Colonial Metals Group. They are the one source you need to go to for advice regarding gold, silver, precious metals, which will do well to enhance your portfolio. We just don't know what's coming. And right now, the government is running up a tab before Trump gets in of $1 trillion every 100 days. Let me get the numbers right. Every 100 days, $1 trillion. That's not sustainable. And all that money that the government's printing is going to devalue your money, the money you have in your 401k, the money you get paid every month from whoever you work for. It all goes down. That's why when you go to McDonald's now, it costs you $10 to get a burger and a meal. So you can't put up with that. So we're asking you to go check out Paul and his team. Go to colonialmetalsgroup.com. Go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/Ed-Henry, or put up the thing to scan. Put up the scanner thing, Chris, for the folks to check out. Or call them. Pick up the phone. Do it the old-fashioned way. Call them 800-805-4034. You will be able to be secure. You will feel better about your family's future, and you will not be victimized by the changing economic circumstance when you have the security of hard, tangible gold and silver. So check them out. Paul Stone, his team, colonialmetalsgroup.com. You will thank us later for giving you this advice. So anyway, back to Christopher. So Christopher, last question before we go.
Sure.
The overall character of Donald Trump is going to be in question again, because on CNN yesterday, one of the wackadoodle leftists said, Trump's bringing firing squads. Oh, there's firing squads coming. What do you think is going to come from this continued hyper, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like it's science fiction. I mean, I don't even have words for it.
Lunacy.
Lunacy. So do you think the left's going to moderate their opinion on Trump at all as he rolls into office?
I mean, it's so surreal because the things that they are accusing him of and have always accused of are happening right before our eyes with this other president. I mean, honestly, I think it's going to be they still don't realize that the majority of this country wants change, wants Trump, wants all the policies that he's pushing. And it's going to be another 4 years where they don't realize all the good things that he's doing, and they're gonna feel the benefits moving forward. But sort of like spoiled children, they're not really going to understand. I think what he's really doing to help this country. And meanwhile, everyone is going to be safe and secure, and making money. And they're not going to know. I don't think they're not going to understand exactly what he's doing. He's a magician. He's going to work magic on this country, and people aren't even going to understand what. That's my take on it.
I agree. I think it's useful, and I just hope that we can get the time and space to let him actually run the field this time, because last time, notably, and I said this the other day, they had their version of guardrails in place. That is to say, people like John Kelly, Jim Mattis, who else was there? There was all these characters who basically were there to keep Trump on track, to control him.
Well, they also had those like moles in the middle management there too.
Yeah, those two.
And Charmellas of the world.
Vindmans.
Right.
So this time, I think Trump's learned his lesson. So let me put that in the form of a question to you, Christopher. Do you think President Trump learned his lesson from last time?
Oh yeah, I mean, he's a human being also, and he learns and he grows, and I think that all the lessons that he's learned from before, because he's not a politician, that's what makes him so great. And he's learned from those things, and I think he's gonna kill it in the next 4 years. Like I'm so more excited now than I was in 2016. I like literally every one of his posts I read because I want to know what he's thinking, because this is like an amazing movie that's about to unfold, and I'm actually really excited to see it, because like the funny hasn't even started. I mean, if Kash Patel comes in and does everything that he's going to do, this is going to get good. This is going to get exciting. And and this is what Americans want. They don't want the same old thing. They want, like, you ask me these questions about him, like with Hegseth or DeSantis, but that's the other great thing about Trump is you can't predict what he's going to do next. And like, he's like a great fighter in the ring, and like, that's the great thing. We don't know what he's going to do. It's just, but I believe in my heart that he's going to make the right decisions. After making this film was sort of an exploration for me to really understand the person that I was supporting, and I was making it for myself. I mean, Josh Marcello set this whole thing up. It was his baby from the beginning, but while I was making it, I was learning. I was like, do I love this guy? Do I trust him? I got to talk to his family, and the thing is it was making this film was proof to myself that he loves this country. So I don't think he's going to make a decision that is not in the best interest for the American people, and that's what I love. I mean, I love Trudeau, everything that happened with Trudeau, because I grew up partly in Canada, and that was just brilliant. I don't look down upon Canada, but I look down on other countries that have relied on us, that don't put us in their priority.
So, Christopher, would it be safe to say that you're gunning for the governorship of Quebec once they become
well, join the Separatist Party. Maybe you actually could win that.
Well in Quebec. Governor
oh
Quebec.
man, hey, it'd be nice to drive up north without them stopping you. So if it becomes a 51st state, I'd be good with that.
Well, I'm looking forward to Bob and Doug McKenzie being the ambassadors. That'll be great. We'll put them as ambassadors to China, because they'll be Americans, right? They'll be Americans, so we can send them over as our ambassadors, right? So we'll send them to China.
Hey, some of Canadians are some of the biggest patriots out there. Look at Tom McDonald.
Oh, they are.
I mean, like Canadians are great, and they don't want socialism either.
Well, that's why.
I have several Canadians who follow me. I'm very close friends with. Some of them are law enforcement. They're fed up with the woke stuff up there. Just saying. So.
Well, it's one of the reasons the Quebec Separatist Party also wants out. Too much socialist government there, right?
Yeah, right.
And last point, Canada, like, because I live there, is completely getting overrun. I mean, they're sort of losing their identity. So there's a crisis going on up there where they've just completely sold out, to Asian companies, sort of buying up land, and
it's horrible.
So I'll let you guys go, but it's the Canadians get it,
Well, good. Well, we'll get them, because they're going to be our 51st state. No, just kidding.
No. Yeah, well, we don't want Trudeau as the governor.
No, Trudeau. I don't know if I know. I told you this time last year, my son went up to Canada. We were in Quebec, and we were in Montreal, and we were hoping to catch Justin Trudeau's eyebrows flying south. We weren't there in time, unfortunately. We didn't see it.
Now we see. I don't want this 50. I don't want Canada to be the 51st state. That's at least 6 more electoral votes for the Democrats. We don't need that.
Maybe. All right. Well, we got to go. Christopher, thank you. We'll check out his movie, The Man You Don't Know. Is that what it is?
The Man You Don't Know.
The Man You Don't Know. I got it right for the first time.
As opposed to The Man You Do Know, which is Joe Biden. We know him now.
That's right. Joe Biden.
Easy to find on X, by the way. Yes.
That's right. Check it out. And we'll be back soon. Christopher, thanks for being here. We always love our conversation. We'll have you back soon, because there'll be more to talk about. I think there's more appointments coming from Trump that we'll be talking about soon. So anyway.
Always fun, you guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Patriots. Thank you for being here. Trixie and what's her name are going to be on time, right,
that's like saying Tony and what's his name are here.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Trixie and Deborah Lynn on Friday.
Deborah Lynn, sorry. I have a headache this morning, and I got to go.
What's his name anyway, so it's okay.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, they'll be on Friday, and then we'll be back on Monday. So be sure and check them out Friday, and we'll be back Monday. Until then, have a great week and stay warm. God, for goodness sake, it's already cold down here in North Carolina. So we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.